Good morning to all of you. So, today we are going to continue with our regression model only. So, in the last class, we in the means in the first and second, third class, we have started. First, we have started with the basic introduction of your AI, machine learning, and deep learning, and then we have selected the machine learning. In machine learning, we have covered your supervised. In the supervised, we have seen there are two way to train your model. First one is your regression, and next one is your classification, and it's going to depend upon for what kind of the problem you are means basically for what kind of the problem you want to prepare the model. So if it's your continuous, then in that case you are going to work with your regression, and if it is your categorical, so in that case you are going to work with the classification. So first we have started with the regression problem where the class label is going to be the continuous value. Next, we have seen the simple linear regressions. The name the simple because here based upon the one feature only we are going to describe our instances, and now based upon that feature only we are going to prepare the model. That means in order to prepare the model, we are going to use only one feature, and that feature is with that feature basically we are creating the hypothesis, and the equation for that hypothesis is your theta naught plus theta 1 x, where theta naught was your intercept and theta 1 is the slope. Slope basically denotes if I'm changing my x with a particular unit, then how much change I will observe in my y unit. So that was the slope. Now, in today's class, we are going to start with the multiple linear regression. This one is important? Because in most of the cases, it's quite difficult to explain the things using only one variable. Most of the time, you require the multiple feature to explain the instances. Because using one feature, it's not possible to explain the characteristic of your instances very clearly. But in case of your multiple, as we are using the multiple dimension to explain it, so the property could be covered with your multiple feature more clearly compared to your simple or your one features. Okay. Now, next thing is before further moving into the detail of your multiple linear regression, first we are going to cover one of the performance measure which we could use to quantify how your algorithm or how your model is working. Because yes. Okay. So because once I have created the model, next I need to quantify how much information, means the information which was present in my training instances, whether that information has been covered by your prepared model or not. So that we need to quantify it. So that quantification we are going to do with one of the performance measure. The name of the performance measure is R squared. So we are going to quantify the performance of my regression line using this R square. Now there is a little bit difference between your R and R square. So in case of your R basically represent your correlation coefficient. So it's basically tells the strength of a linear relation or a linear association between your X and Y. So basically it's defined how linear means how means how these two different features are related to each other. So that quantification we are doing with respect using your correlation coefficient, and that we are representing using R. In case of your R square, this is also known as a coefficient of determination. In that case basically it tells the amount of the variation that was present in Y and that has been explained in your model. So this has been written here. The this basically R squared tells us how much close your each data is to fit to your regression line, or in other word we can say it as the amount of variation which was present in your response. That means your dependent variable, how much response that was present in your Y, that has been covered in your model. So this way we are going to quantify the performance of my regression model. The higher the value of your R square, the better your model is. Like suppose for one model I'm getting the value near to 0, and for one model I'm getting the value closer to 1. So this the value which is closer to 1 is more appropriate, means the model for which I'm getting the R square closer to 1, that is going to be more appropriate than the second one. Okay, let's see how this one is working. Now, most simplest way to represent your data is using the mean value. Like we are having the sets of the instances, so this it's the most simplest way is going to be just calculate the mean, and that mean is going to be the representative of your instances. So now in this case, basically in case of a regression model, what we are thinking is, can we do better than this? That means, can I draw a line which could be represented well compared to your mean? Like suppose this is the line which is representing, this is the line which is representing your original data, and that is your mean. So here our objective is, can we draw some other line which is more representative compared to this line? So this basically in linear regression, or in case of regression, what we are doing, we are just trying to find this line only, and we are going to say that that line is going to be the representative of your training instances. So basically this thing we are going to formulate in case of a regression, and we are going to quantify that thing using your R square. Now, how this R square is calculated? So this is going to be the ratio of your sum of square regression error. So I will explain each of these terms in more detail. So this is represent, the first part is your sum of square regression error, and this part is the sum of square total error, and that we are going to subtract in one. So if the, as I said, if the value is more closer to one, then it's going to be the better. If the value is moving towards the zero, then it is the worst one. So that we are going to calculate for a particular problem. So let's see how it's working. First we will see what this SS regression is and what this SS total is, means what these two terms are representing. um, Here, like suppose we are having some data. Based upon that data, we have drawn this line. So this is your hypothesis model, so that we can write it as like the this notation we have used till this point, so that I can write it as h theta x is equals to, suppose it's related to your simple linear regression, so that we can easily generalize to your multiple also. So that we will see how we could generalize to this model to your multiple linear regression. For now, assume it this is your simple linear regression. Okay, so we are having one feature, and based upon that we have drawn this line. So this is your hypothesis line. Okay, now this one is your actual value. That means your actual instance, that you can write it as your, like suppose x I and yi. Why we are writing in this combination? Because this is representing my x ith instance, and for that ith instance I am having this much class value. So this is representing your class value, and somewhere here we will have its x value. Okay. Now, based upon the data, I have calculated this. I have this one line. So this line is basically representing the mean of your data. And here in this case, we are going to quantify the line which you have drawn. This line which you have drawn, whether it's a better than your mean value or not. So that we are going to quantify it. Okay. This is your mean. This is your R regression, which we are saying at the as your hypothesis. Let me clear it. Okay. Next, what we are going to do is we are going to calculate your S total. So basically, S total is this one. This is defining your S total. So it's going to be the difference of your mean value with the particular value, with the particular instance. So that we can write it as, so that we can write it as in this format. So it's just the difference of your actual one and your mean one. So this is defining your S total. Now this part is defining the difference of your difference between the actual value and the value which you are predicting through your model. So that also we have covered in the last in the last class. Like this part is basically this with this model, what we are saying that the value of my this particular instance is going to be h theta naught plus theta 1 x, where I'm going to replace the value of x with the particular instance value, and that is going to define what is the predicted one according to your created model. So in case of your SS regression, that means so total sum of a square error for with respect to the regression. So it's going to be the difference of this actual value with the predicted one. So this is, and this we are going to do for all of the instances. So that's why it's going to be your summation. Now this difference is also known as your residual. So residual basically defines the difference between your actual value and your predicted one. So this sometime you will find this term residual. So residual just the difference between your actual one and the predicted one. So you can see it, what we were writing is we were writing 1 minus this part divided by this part. So this much thing we have covered, this also we have covered, and what we are doing is we are dividing this one with this one. So how much we are left with? We are left with this one. Okay, so let's do the calculation. Possibly all of you have understood what the things means, what this S total is, what this S regression is. So now we are going to see each of these term one by one. So the first one is a sum of a square total error. So this blue dot is basically representing your actual value, and this is your mean value. So that also we have seen. So what we are going to do is, in order to calculate your sum of a square total error, we are going to calculate this difference. We are going to calculate difference with respect to each of the instances. So that is going to define total sum of a square error. Next we are going to calculate the sum of a square regression error. So for that, what we are going to do, first I will calculate the value with respect to each of the instances. Value in the sense, I'm going to predict the value of each of the instances based upon this model. So like suppose here the equation for this regression line is 6x minus 5. It could be because the value for your theta is also could be in the minus direction also. So like for this, the case could be this one also, 6x minus 5. So this is the basically this y is your hypothesis, that the term which we are using now, h theta x. So this y is basically representing your h theta x. So first, in order to calculate your sum of a square error with respect to a regression line, first I will calculate what is my predicted value according to my current model. So that I am going to predict with this equation. Once I have done with this, once I know this value, this point, once I know this all the points which are placed at your black line, now next I am going to calculate the difference, and next we are going to square it, and then we are going to perform the summation. So that is going to give you total sum of square error with respect to your regression. So this we are done. Okay, now we are going to calculate this r square. So basically this is the sum of a square that we have already seen, sum squared regression error divided by sum squared total error, and that we are going to subtract with your one. So let's see this one with an example. So possibly this screen is also visible. I have opened one Excel file. If it is not visible, let me know. So here what we are having this x, and these are the value of your x, and this is the value of your y. So first what we are going to do is we are going to calculate we are going to calculate we are going to calculate the mean, and then in the next we are going to calculate the difference of each of the instances with their mean, and then we are going to calculate the square. So what I have done here is simply I am calculating the difference with respect to the mean, and then multiplying with itself. So this is giving you this column basically give you sum of a square with respect to each of the instance. And next what we are going to do is we are going to calculate the sum in total. We are going to calculate it because in your r square the value is sum of square total. So this total we have calculated. Next, if with respect to your regression line, like in order to calculate a SS regression, so first what we will do is we will calculate the predicted value with respect to each of the instance. So that you can see here, I'm calculating the predicted value with respect to each of the instance. Next, I have calculated the difference between your predicted one and actual one. So that also you can see, I have just calculated the difference between the predicted one. So this is your predicted one and this is your actual one. Next, I'm going to calculate its square, and after that, at the end, I'm going to calculate its sum. So, so we have calculated sum of square regression also. We have calculated sum of square total also. Next, I'm going to calculate it. So simply what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide this 84 with your 1092, and next I'm going to subtract it. So what I'm going to get? I'm going to get 0.923, which is quite closer to your quite closer to your 1. So that means the regression, the line which we have drawn as a regression line, that is quite that line is able to cover the variation which is present in your original data, and that is also visible from here also, like you can see uh, here we are having very little bit of difference. Here it's there is no difference. Here also there is very little difference, very little difference. So your model is able to cover your instances, your model is able to very well able to represent your instances. So that's why the same thing we are able to reflect in your r square also. So that is your 0.923. Like suppose your all of the instances are just fall down on your line. So in that case, there will be no difference between your actual one and the predicted one. So in that case, this part is going to be zero. So it's going to be zero divided by something. So in whole, it's going to be zero only. So 1 minus that 0, so it's going to be 1. So if there is no difference between your predicted one and between your actual one, so in that case we are going to get the value r square. You can refer to this, means this example basically I have taken from this site, so you can refer to it. And you can also means in that blog it is also mentioned what are the condition where you can have the exception with respect to your r square. Means sometimes you can get the negative value, but there are some special cases, so that thing you can cover from this. Next we are going to cover your multiple linear regression, and before that we will start with your polynomial regression. So basically sometime like the relation sometime the relation between your input and output is going to be linear. Like the sometime the relation is like this, sometime the relation is. So with the just a straight line you are able to cover the relation, but sometimes you are having this kind of relation, like we are going in this way. For example, I'm using this. So it's quite difficult to cover this relation using a straight line. If you draw some curve structure, so with the curve structure, you are able to deal with this. Means you are able to formulate this relationship. Here, in case of your linear regression, is not just to draw a line and that is to the straight. Here our main objective is the line which you are drawing, that should be the representative of your instances. So if the relation is the linear, so in that case it is going to be the straight. But if the relations, if the relation between your input and output is having some curved structure, so that we can't represent using your linear regression. So for that we are having the polynomial regression. So this polynomial regression basically in this case, instead means with this polynomial regression, we are going to formulate the more complex relationship which is present in your x in a form of function. That means the features which you are using in a model, that feature is going to be function of your x, that means the function of your input. So based upon this concept, your polynomial regression is working. Again repeating, in order to incorporate some complex information which is present in your original data. So in your model I am going to use a feature, and that feature is going to be the function of your input. It's not going to be just x. We are going to apply some function on x, and that function which the value which we have created through the function, that we are going to use in our model. Okay, so let's see how it's working. Like here you can see, it's not a linear relationship. Here we are having some curve structure. So this, if I'm using this linear regression, just a straight line if I'm using, so it is not able to cover my instance. It's not able to represent my instances. So that you can also visualize here. So what I'm getting 0.18, so it's quite closer to your 0, not closer to 1. So this is not the best model. If I go with your next one, if you go with the curve structure, then this information is represented very well. So like here you can see, here I have, instead of using this straight line, I have used this curved structure. So earlier for the same data set, the what you were getting is 0.18 r square, you were getting 0.18, and for the same data set what you are getting the r square as a 0.94. Why? Because this has covered the information which is present in your data more clearly compared to this one. It is able to represent it. Now we can consider this line as a representative of my data. Here we can't consider because it is not considering any of the information. So that's why we need to go with this one. Now again the same example, continue with this. So like suppose if you are having a data set related to the student, and here the x is basically represented in terms of your hour of study, and this is grade which the student is getting. So like here you can see there is somewhat there is a linear relationship between your hour of study and the test grade. So if I draw a straight line, so this is also going to work. So how what value I'm getting is 0.97. So this is quite well able to represent my data. Means this line is able to represent my instances or your training example. If we go here, and what I have done here is I have just incorporated some curved structure in my data. So this is the data is same, like you can see here the data is somewhat same, but here at this end and at this end I have incorporated some of the curved structure. So now if I'm drawing the same, if I'm using with the same setting, if I'm applying this linear regression, that means I'm drawing a straight line. So for the same data set with this much of the variation, I am getting 0.95. So originally it was 0.97, now I am getting 0.95. So that you can clearly see. If the structure is linear, then the linear is going to work, but if the structure is not linear, in that case it is not going to work, like in this case also. The same example, here I have used somewhat, I have covered this using somewhat curved line. So now it has, instead of from 0.95 it has increased to 0.96, because very little variation I have applied. So that's why it's 0.96. If you apply more variation, so it's going to be more closer towards the one. But here I have applied a little bit variation, so that's why it's getting 0.96. Now this, if we define your polynomial, so basically all these things, this incorporation of this all complex information in my model, we are doing in a polynomial regression, using a polynomial regression. So we can consider this polynomial regression is a special case of your multiple linear regression, that we will see why it is a special case of multiple linear regression. Next thing is, we are, in case of your polynomial regression, we are modeling the relationship between your x and y in the nth degree. Like here you can see, we are modeling the relationship in your square. The feature is same, but what we are doing is, here we are increasing the, here we are further increasing the dimension, and that dimension we have increased in terms of the square. Okay, So like here, now from this state, this equation, you can relate this equation. So here we are having only one feature, but uh, not the feature, we can say it like, for just to create the difference, here we are having only one input. The input is your x, but here I have the dimension has, instead of the one, it has increased to 2, and that we are modeling with respect to 2. So this polynomial regression, that's why it is considered as a multiple linear regression, because here we are going to have more than two dimensions. It's going to be like, first is your x, next one is your x dimension, so it's more than one. So that's why it's come under, special case of your multiple linear regression. This we have already covered. So this diagram is this the equation for this line is this, and equation of this line is this, because we have, as I said, we have just in we have did very slight modification in the existing one. So that's why instead of 955 we were getting the 96. So this much the variation we have incorporated in this terms. Now, just to formalize for your polynomial regression, so this polynomial regression, we can go to the any dimension, means we can apply different function on the x, and each of the function which is resulting into a different feature. Like for the x, I have applied x square, next I have applied log x, next I have applied this square root of the x. So each of these function is basically creating a different feature, so this all will be treated as your different feature. And with respect to each different feature, we need to associate a parameter theta, because if we are having n features, so in that case the parameter, that means the value of theta is going to be n plus 1. Okay, so the same thing is represented here. Okay, now here in this case, this is also we are going to this although we are not having anything at this point, but for convenience we will use it as your, here also we are having x, but the value of that x is always going to be 1. So that means multiply any number with your 1, you are going to get the same value. So that's why here we will, for just for the sake of completion, just sake of means symmetricity, we are going to use x here also, but in that case x is going to be 1, so it's not going to affect your calculation. So this is the form of your polynomial regression. The same example you can see it here, the same example you can see it here. First, I have incorporated the nth power as your 3. So how much performance we are getting? 9938, 0.9938. I have increased it further. So this is the very little bit modification, and that is 9967. I have increased it further. So it's your 9991. So as you can see, as I am increasing the degree, my model is fitting my the fitting of the model is means with respect to fitting of the model with respect to each feature, each instance is also increased. Like here you can see, here you have left out one of the feature, here one of the feature, here on one of the feature, but here in this case it is able to cover that feature. So that's why, means it's able to cover that instant. So our this r square has increased, and here in this case it is able to cover most of the instances, so r square further increased. So with this way, with basically using this polynomial regression, we can fit our model to our data set very well. Now, if I'm tightly fitting to the data set, so that also going to create the problem. So that we will see why tightly fitting is also avoided. By that we will see in the coming slides. So this is now this polynomial regression. You can, it's not like the it's not your non-linear. For this case, it's not going to be a particularly non-linear thing. Here internally it's going to be a some function of your x, but in appearance it is going to look like a just a linear regression. Like here you can see this x1, x2, x3, just the simple just the linear regression which we have covered till now. Internally this x1 is different, this x2 is different, this x3 is different, but in your appearance it is going to look like same. So this model is still your linear model itself. just the value of your x is going to vary, but it's going to be a linear one. Okay. Now, as I said, some function we are going to apply on your x, and based upon your created function, we are going to use that feature in my model. So this function we are representing here as in terms of your b1, b2, b3, or till your bk. Suppose if you want to extend till your kth dimensions, it's going to be your bk. This b will be known prior to us, and this is going to be fixed. Means this we know, means with what value we are going to map our given input. So this information will be known to us. So the same thing, like here we are having x and y. So this is one of the way to represent it. But like suppose this is the size of your house, this x is representing the size of the house, and this is representing the price of the house. So as you increase, as you are going to increase the x, so somewhere it is also going to be down. So but it should not be the case. Like if I'm increasing the size of my house, the price should also increase. But if I'm using this function, in that case, based upon this function, it is going to possibly, it's going to move in this direction. So I will, instead of using this, I will use this. Instead of using this, I will use this. So I will use this one. So it's always not the case like x square is always going to work for your problem, or x cube is always going to work for your problem. It's going to depend upon what kind of the problem, what kind of the behavior you are having in your data. Based upon that behavior, I need to work with this beta. And sorry, we need to work with the basic function. So basic function we have already seen in the last, like here, this basic function, you need to work on that. In the first one, we were having this, means just squaring the value, and in the next one we are having this square. So that we need to decide. Now come to your multiple linear regression. So as we have seen, in case, in although in case of your polynomial regression, we were extending the dimension, but that extension we are doing in terms of one feature only. Like if you are having the number of, means the size of the house, so some of the variation I am applying on the size of the house, and based upon that variation only, I am going to cover. I am trying to cover my instances. I am trying to model the relationship of your x and y. But it is quite difficult, it is quite difficult for difficult to express the whole information using your one feature. Like the price of the house is not going to depend only on the size of the house. It's going to be depend upon like the how many how many bedrooms are there, how many floors are there, how many balconies are there, what is the location of your house. So these features are also going to contribute to the price of the house. But this thing we are not incorporating in case of a simple linear regression. So that information, that the uh, different dimension we are going to incorporate in your multiple linear regression. That means we will have x1, x2, x3. Now here this x1, x2, x3 are different features, are different dimension. But in case of a polynomial regression, what we were doing is we were having one feature, and that on that feature I am applying some basic function, some basic function in order to cover the relationship. Same multiple linear regression could also be tried with your polynomial. That means we are having x to xk features, and in that different xk feature I can use my polynomial. That means I can use some function on that xk feature. So this is also this combination we can also try. Like the, which I said, like the only the size of the house is not going to affect the price of the house. The number, how many bathrooms are there, how many balconies are there, how many floors are there, this is also going to contribute in this. So we, in case of your multiple linear regression, we are going to incorporate all this information. So like earlier what we were doing is we were using this square feet as my input, and based upon that I was predicting the price. And now what we have done is we have also included the how many bathrooms are there in your house. So this is also going to contribute to calculate the price of the house. Earlier we were having just we were having two dimensional display, so we were having just a straight line for the representation. But in this case it's your multi, so even it's your three dimension, so in that case we are going to use a plane for that representation. That means the equation which we are going to draw, so that equation is going to represent the position of your plane. And if it is your more than three, so it's going to be your hyperplane. So for now it's we are taking this three dimensions, so it's going to be a plane. So equation for this is going to be theta naught the same your intercept, and your theta 1 which is associated with your size of your house, theta 2 which is associated with your number of the bathrooms. Okay, so this equation is going to represent this the position of this. Okay, this also we have covered. We have many possible input like the size we have already taken, location, bedroom we have already incorporated. Location could be the one of the factor, number of the balcony, number year when the house was built, so this could be also your one of the dimension, and number of the floor also it could be another dimension. So it is quite, like as I said, it's quite difficult only to use the size of the house and based upon that predicting the value. And this case is applicable in every domain, whether it's related to the classification of your image, whether it's related to your fraud identification, sorry, just to in general I'm talking about the supervised learning, and whether it's related to your stock price prediction. So in all the cases, um explaining or covering your instances using one feature is going to be difficult, so we need to go with your multiple. So in reality this multiple linear regression is used with the combination of your polynomial that you can try. Now, in case of a simple linear regression, we were having only one feature. We were one feature, so we do not need to use so many notation. But as from now onwards, we are going to work with your multiple linear regression. So for that, we will have different sets of instances. With that different sets of the instances, we will have different sets of the features. So we are going to use this general notation. We are going to follow this notation in order to cover the concept. So this output is going to be y. There will be no change, and this if you want to represent with respect to the first instance, so then in that case it is going to be 1. If you are going to represent the same thing with your respect to your second instance, so in that case it is going to be 2. So that means that we can represent using your superscript I. That means I can simply write it as I if I is representing your instance number, so it's going to be a scalar value. Okay, now the major change which we are going to observe for this particular notation is the number of the features. Like in the previous case, in your simple linear regression, we were having one feature, so we do not need to use this subscripts. But in case of a multiple linear regression, we are going to have the k dimension. Suppose for example if we are having k features, so in that case I needed to represent the k features, so for that we are going to use this subscript. So superscript we are going to use for the instance, and subscript we are going to use for in order to denote the features. So that you can also see here xi with superscript I, that means your ith instance. Xj, that means your jth feature, and if I'm writing in this way, so it's your ith instance, j, or you can say it jth feature of your ith instance. Like suppose we are having this, here we are writing 1 2, this just representing your instances, and this is representing the feature of your instances. And what I'm writing is, let me complete it. What I'm writing is x 3 2. So that means my second what entry I want is, I want second feature of third instance, second feature of your third instance. So this is going to be the case. So this notation we are going to follow for rest of the class. Okay, now for you, as I said, for your simple hyperplane, this is going to be the equation. This is going to be the equation that also we have seen, like we were having that we have seen in case of your simple linear regression. Like suppose this is the case, and this model we are representing with respect to your theta naught plus theta 1 x, that concept we were using theta naught plus theta 1 x, and we are having some value at this location, we are having this much of difference. So this we were representing with respect to theta naught plus theta 1 x plus epsilon. Epsilon was is representing this difference. So so this only we have written here. So now just to search that, we can summarize into this format. And here each of this x1 or xk basically representing your different feature. As I said, for the first, that you can write it as x naught, and the value of this x naught is always going to be 1. So that also we will see why we are taking it. And for this x1, x2, xa, these are going to be your different sets of the features. The same we can more generalize it, like in case of, like as I said, in case of your polynomial regression, that polynomial regression, in your polynomial regression, either you can supply one feature or you can supply multiple features. It's going to behave accordingly. So like here we can write it as, if you are not applying any feature, like suppose if you are not applying any function or the feature, if you are not applying any function, so it is going to be the same as this. But if you're applying some feature, feature not be some function, so then in that case it will be different. Like suppose here in this case, I'm not applying any operation on that, so it's going to be one only. By default, it is going to be one only, or even might not by default, it's going to be one only all the time. And here I'm not applying any function on my x feature. Suppose the x1 feature is the size of your house. Here I'm not applying any function, so it's going to be the square root only, means it's going to be the size only with the actual value. And here what I'm doing is I'm applying the log function, or your some combination of the function here, like I'm calculating the log of your number of bedroom into the number of the bathroom. So here I'm applying some function, so this x2 is going to be this, the value of your x2 is going to be this, whatever you are getting. So this is just either you can use some function or you can't, means or you can avoid it also. So this is going to be depend upon you, and that you are going to define based upon the problem which you are having. Let's perform some interpretation of the simple linear regression. With respect to simple linear regression, we will extend it to your multiple linear regression. So that we already covered. So basically this is representing your intercept part, and this is representing your slope, and slope is if I'm changing this x with 1 square foot, so how much change I will observe in your price. So this is your simple linear regression that we have already covered in your previous classes. Now in, if suppose if you are having the two features, that means theta no, x1 and x2, so in that case how we could interpret this, interpret how we can perform the interpretation. So in order to perform the interpretation, I need to fix one dimension. So in that case I will say, if I'm fixing this dimension, then if I'm changing this x2 with this much amount, then how much change I will uh, observe in my y. So here suppose I am fixing this, I am fixing, suppose I am fixing the size of your house. So here I will say, if I'm fixing the size of the house, then with respect to the number of the bathrooms, like if I'm increasing the number of the bathroom by one, then how much change I will observe in the price. So this just a line, basically this this cut, this this is basically representing I'm fixing this square size of the house at this place, and next I'm observing this bathroom. I have fixed this size, I have fixed the size of the house, and now next I'm observing this bathroom with respect to bathroom I'm observing the number of the price. So that we can easily extend to multiple dimension, that means even I can extend it to the k dimension. So if I'm extending this one into the k dimension, so in that case I will fix all of the feature except the one with which we wanted to analyze it. Like suppose I'm going to fix the number of the size of your house, number of the bathroom, number of the balcony, and I wanted to see if I'm increasing the number of the floor by 1 unit, then how much change I will observe in my price. So that way means this simple, this form could be extended to the multiple dimension. This form could be extended to the multiple. But in case of your polynomial regression, that we can't apply, why it is so? Because like suppose we are having one feature x, and we have extended it to your x square, x to the power 3. This way we have extended our feature. Now I can't fix x, because if I'm fixing it, this is also going to affect your x square and x2, because this x square and x2 we have formulated from your x. So in case of polynomial regression, there is some dependency between your feature, and that could be the feature which you are selecting, that means with that feature other is having the dependency. So that's why we can't perform this interpretation in case of your polynomial regression. We can't fix the feature, because possibly other feature are dependent on your selected one. Now this the form which we have written here, this like this form which we have written here, this has been simplified further in this case. Like this is representing a multiple linear regression, like we are having x1 x1 x2 up to xk number of the features. So that we can write it as your theta transpose x. And how we are writing this theta transpose x, like let me write it down here. What is this x is, I can write it as your x1 x2. Suppose we are having the dimension n, so here we are extend. So suppose the dimension is n. So we are extending till n. Now here we have written k, so suppose I am taking it as your k. This is your dimension. Dimension the dimension of each of the instances. So it's going to be your k plus one. Why it's going to be a k plus one? Because here we are also incorporating this x naught. Although the value is going to be 1, but we are going to incorporate it, so that's why the dimension is going to be k plus 1. Now for your theta, it's going to be theta naught till your theta k. So in this case also the dimension is going to be k plus 1 only. The dimension is going to be k plus 1 only. Okay, so in order to get this, how we can write it as theta, this I can represent as your x, this I can represent as your theta, and this whole equation I can write it as theta transpose x. So this way I am getting this equation. Just in a simplified way we have written this. Okay. Now next is how like, so how the equation is going to be, like here in this case, um, this we have already seen. So just for the now just again for the simplicity, it's going to be, we can write it as, instead of using this we are going to write it as your theta. Instead of this we are going to use this term theta. Okay, so it's going to be a j theta. Now the we want to optimize this j theta. In theta we are having theta naught, theta 2 till your theta k. So in the previous, we have already seen in the gradient descent. Like now you know how to formulate the model if you are having the multiple dimension. How to formulate the model if you are having the one dimension. How to formulate the model if you are having the curve research structure in your data. So that we have already seen. We in the last class we have seen how we can use this gradient descent in order to formulate the in order to calculate the value of the theta naught and theta 1, that we were doing with respect to your simple linear regression. Now the same concept can also be used for your multiple linear regression, but here in this case, instead of having theta naught and theta 1, here we will have theta k. Till 0 to k, this number of the thetas I need to update. So this is your previous one that we have already seen in the last class, and this is your, okay, this will be plus. Let me correct it. So this is going to be your plus. Okay. So here what we are going to do is, first we will take the derivative with respect to the theta naught, next your theta 1, next with respect to your theta k. So as you can see, so so what change we will have when I'm calculating with respect to your theta k, let me write it here. So I'm I'm updating this with respect to your theta k. So it's going to be your
All participants, please stay in the room. Due to some technical issue, ma'am will be disconnected. Uh, she will connect within 1 minute. So please continue.
am I audible? Am I audible? Hello? Hello? Am I audible? Okay, okay, okay. So we were at this point. So now here what we are going to do is, we are going to calculate we are going to update my theta k, which is going to be associated with your kth feature. So it's just going to be your, so that derivation we have already seen in the last class. So that's why I'm not going to cover this one in much detail. Okay, and this is going to be the summation, and that is going to 1 to, and this y is going to be the same, only the change we will have with respect to xk and this. So this change we will only have. So this way, now the same gradient descent concept is also applicable for your this multiple linear regression. Now, these are the some of the questions which we could answer. You means till the points we have covered all your simple linear regression, multiple linear regression, and polynomial also we have covered. Now, based upon that, we can answer all these questions. So, what the question is first is at least one of the predictor that means your feature useful for predicting the response. Next one is, do all the predictor help to explain why? That means the variation which is present means the features or your predictor which you are having in your original space, whether all are going to contribute in explaining why, or some of them are only sufficient. Next is, how well does the model fit the data? So that basically related to the performance, how your model is performed. So this is representing that concept. And next one is, given a set of the predictor value, what response value should we predict? That means we have formulated the hypothesis model. Now, once we have formulated the hypothesis model, so how this hypothesis model could be used for the prediction? So that all three, four questions we are going to see one by one. So in case of a simple linear regression, we are having only one feature, so we are not going to worry about that. But in case of a multiple linear regression, here in that case, we are going to have multiple features. That means we are going to have the k feature. And if we want to test how this one particular feature is going to work, what we can do is we can fix rest of the thetas equals to 0, because we are not going to do anything with respect to your features. We are, if you want to, even if you want to adjust the features, so that adjustment we are going to do for now, that adjustment we are going to do with respect to theta only. So here we want to check whether the selected feature is able to express or able to predict my response or not. So for that I am going to fix rest of the theta equals to 0, and that one particular theta will be your non-zero. So that way I can simply check the response. So check the response that we have already seen, theta naught plus theta 1x. So theta 1 is basically representing the slope. That means if I'm changing this x with this amount, then how much change we will have in your y. So that prediction we can do. Next one is this is related to your number of the features which is present in your original data. So with this statement we are going to say whether all feature are necessary for the representation, or we can work with the some sets of the features. So basically this is related to a feature selection problem. So in case of a feature selection problem, the task is, from the original feature space, we are trying to select the informative feature or discriminative sets of the feature which is going to represent your data very well. So that so we can also use this feature selection concept in the combination of your multiple linear regression. Next one is your model fitting. So in case of a model fitting, as I said, once I have created the model, next I needed to check whether the created model is well behaving or not. So for that I needed to calculate how the model is working with your current setting. So for that we have seen your R square measure. So in case of a R square measure, basically we were testing how your model is going to means how much variation, the variation which were present in your original data, that variation we are able to cover, means how much variation we are able to cover with your current setting. So that we were covering in case of R square. But the problem with your R square is, if you keep on increasing the number of the features, so the R square is also going to increase in that respect also. So this is the drawback with respect to your R square. So in order to cover this drawback, we are having adjusted R square. So this adjusted square is not suffer from the problem which R square is suffering. And how it is going to be calculated? This is the R square, which means this one. This M is basically representing the total number of the observation, or you can say is the sample size, and this K is the number of the predictor. That means the number of the features which you are having. So the number of the instances and number of the features is also going to contribute in the calculation, or is also going to contribute how fit your model is. So this way your adjusted R square is working. Next, you are once you are having the hypothesis, that means once you are having the equation, so that equation you can use for the prediction. So that example also we have seen in case of a simple linear regression. So for that we were having the equation like 2.2 plus I think 0.9 and x 9x. So if you want to calculate the value for your 10, so simply place this 10 0 0.9 plus 2.2, and this is going to give the value of your x with this particular with it is going to give the value of your test instance with respect to this value. So this is has been covered. If you know the equation, if you know your model, so based upon that model you can easily perform the prediction. Next is your next this I'm going to quickly cover this generalization capability. We will cover this generalization also. We are going to cover when we will have model evaluation. At that time we will cover this generalization in more detail. For now I'm just going to give you overview what this generalization means. Now the main task of your supervised learning, whether it's your classification or whether it's your regression, in both the cases the main task is we wanted to create a model which should work well for your test data. It should not be the case it is working for your training data but not working for the test data. For the test data we already know the class label. Our main objective is to predict the class label for your unknown instances. So your model should be well generalized. That means your model should be general one. It should also work well for your test data also. Okay. Now when we are performing setting, when we are performing the parameter tuning, or when we performing the setting of your parameter with respect to the model, two kinds of the problem we can have: overfitting and underfitting. Overfitting, that means the model is well behaving on the training data but it is having very large error on your test data. That means your model is tightly fitted to your training instances but it is not working for your test instance. The example which we have covered with respect to the student has memorized each and everything whatever has been written in his notebook, but if I'm changing some of the questions, so the student is not going to perform in that subject. So this is your overfitting. And in case of a underfitting, it is not, it's not going to perform well on the training data. As it is not performing well on the training data, it's also not going to perform the test data. When I'm saying that it is not performing well on the training data, because it hasn't learned anything from the training data. And if it is hasn't learned anything from the training data, so it's not going to work well for your training data. So this leads to your underfitting problem. Tightly fit, not fitting at all. So this leads to these two problems basically leads to your bias and variance. So in case of a bias, we will having the underfitting. Like here you can just I have drawn a random line. It is not very well able to represent my instances. So this leads to underfitting and your bias. Here it is tightly fitting. Means each and every instances we have tried to cover. Like in case of polynomial regression, that thing we were doing in the last where the degree was 10. So it was covering each and every instance. So that was your overfitting, and that leads to the variance. So that we will see in your model evaluation part. So as you are, let's see first this one. As you are increasing the complexity, that means as you are increasing as you're incorporating more and more information in your model, so it is going to work well on the training data. That line you can see, but possibly it's not going to generalize well. As you are increasing the complexity of the model, the training error is going to decrease, but your testing error, like this is your testing error after some point of the time it is also going to decrease because your model is losing the generalization capability. At your at simpler side, that means your model is not learning anything, so you will have this bias problem and your underfitting problem. And if when your model has learned each and everything which is present in your data, that means your model is very complex. That means it has learned each and every detail which is present in your data. So this leads to your variance issue and it's your overfitting. So how to deal with this? This also we will cover in more detail. We will cover in your, this in model evaluation part. So this is your underfitting and overfitting. Uh, Next is your how we can deal with this overfitting problem. So basically, in case of a overfitting problem, there are two. There are two solution could be used to deal with this. So first is increase the number of the instances. Like suppose if I'm having 10 instances, so it's quite easy to fit to this 10 instances. If I'm having lakhs of instances, so it's quite difficult to fit to lakhs of instances. So I can increase this number of the training, so that is going to somehow it is going to deal with your overfitting problem. Next one is your regularization. That means I am adding penalty to my model if it is increasing towards your complex model. Like we have seen in here, if I'm increasing the complexity of the model, so the same way my overfitting is also going to increase. So if I reduce the complexity of the model, so then it's going to be at this side. Means like suppose I've reduced it here, so it's going to be at this side. If I'm reducing it further, so it's going to be further moving into a simpler direction. So your model should be simple, but not the simpler one. It should means your model should able to remember. It's not able. It should not remember each and everything, but it should learn something from your data. So that regularization we are going to cover in little bit, that we are going to like this. This is the model. Okay, this looking like a quite a fit model, but here in this case it is quite the complex model. So the complex model, that means it is trying to cover each and every instance. So this leads to overfitting, and this is just the fit one. So if I move from this complex model to to this simpler model, what I can do is I can remove these terms. So if I'm removing these terms, so the model behavior will be like this. So in case of your regularization, basically we are trying to do this thing only. I'm going to penalize this theta naught and theta 1. So if I'm going to penalize it, so somehow I am going to reduce the contribution of these features in my model. So if I'm reducing the contribution of these features in my model, so it's moving towards a simpler. Like suppose this is the feature value, and if I want to minimize this whole equation, if I want to minimize, I need to set this theta to very small value. Then only we can have then we can assure that this is your minimum. Otherwise move towards your maximization, maximum value, not the maximization. It will move towards the maximum value. So I will set this theta 3 and theta 4 to very small value. So if I'm setting this theta 3 and theta 4 very small value, so the contribution of this x3 and x4 will be very little in in this case. So your model will be this one, and if the model is this one, so you are going to get this same result. So that thing we are going to do in case of the regularization. There are three ways to do this regularization: lasso, ridge, and elastic knit. So now your total cost is going to be measure of the fit. That means your the original equation. That means it's going to be this much, and this penalty term we are going to add, and that penalty we are basically introducing in terms of the magnitude of your coefficient, because coefficient is basically handling how much contribution this particular feature should have in your total cost. Basically it's deciding the contribution of your feature, so that we are going to control with this magnitude of the feature, and this further we are going to contribute with this lambda. So lambda is going to be your parameter, and this with this regularization parameter and this regularization parameter, I'm going to adjust this total cost. If I'm setting this lambda to very large value, that means I am applying so much regularization in my model. So if I'm applying so much regularization in model, so that means I am reducing the effect of most of the features. If I am reducing the effect of most of the features, so that means I am moving toward the simpler one, or even the simplest one. So this may leads to your underfit problem if we are applying so much regularization. And if you are not applying any regularization, so if the model is a complex one, it will still be a complex model. So this will lead to your overfitting case. So I need to adjust the value of lambda in between, so that it should not be the overfit, it should not be the underfit. Basically, what reason I want to cover, I want to be in this reason, not in this one, not in this one, I want to be in this reason, and that we are going to control with your regularization. Only very little difference with your original one and the this regularized linear regression. So this equation we are already having. This equation, all you can see, this is the original one. Just what I am going to do is I am going to adjust the value of this theta based upon this lambda. Lambda is your regularization theta. So when you are taking the absolute value, so it's your lasso or L1 regression it is known, and if you are taking the square, then it is known as your ridge regression. So each of these regularization is having its own advantage and disadvantage. This lasso sometimes reduce the value of your theta, means reduces the value of your coefficient to zero. So this leads to decrease the value of your, means basically, suppose if you're having 10 features, and out of 10 features, for some of the features the value of theta is zero. So what is going to happen? From that 10 features we will have, suppose, 5 or 6 features. Why 5 or 6 features? Because for rest of the features, the value of theta was zero. So that's why these features were eliminated. So that's why we will have only seven features. So this lasso is also used for your regression. So this lasso is used for your regression. This is helping you to reduce the feature. This is helping you to deal with your multiple collinearity. That means association between the two features. And this is just the combination of these two. We will have detailed description about this, of how this lasso, how this regression is working. As you can see, we are reducing the coefficient but not to zero. We are reducing the coefficient value but not to the zero. But here in this case, we have reduced to the zero. So wherever I am reducing it to zero, so basically the features which are associated with that coefficient, it's going to be eliminated. So this lasso is can be used for your variable selection problem, and this is used for just shrinking the value of your features. So this is roadmap of what we have covered. We have started with your simple linear regression. So in that case, we were having this form. In case of a polynomial regression, we were using some kind of the function over my feature, and in case of multiple regression, in order to prepare the model, we are using multiple features, and that feature could be the straight x1, x2, x3, or I could apply some basic function on the features, and based upon that converted feature, I can create my model. So these all are your regression. So that's all from my side.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks a lot. Uh, very exciting session. Our student must have learned and understood a lot about regression. Regression process is very important part of machine learning. Without this, machine learning cannot be learned. Thank you again, ma'am, for sharing your valuable time and knowledge with us. And all participants, please be on time for the next exciting session so that you can don't miss anything. Ma'am, thank you. Thank you so much.